Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk movies, television, and wrestling. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Friday Night SmackDown. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way. Shari, I'm to leave a like, comment below, and know your thoughts on Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, hit the subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I'll greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? So, I was supposed to have this out to y'all much sooner. I'm not sure when this has been posted. It'll just depend on how fast I can turn around and get this recorded. But this was originally going to go live around 5 p.m.-ish on the 17th of January, which was a Saturday. And it could still be that day by the time I get this posted. But I don't know what happened. My sound went away while I was uploading this video. I have no idea what happened. And I was not able to get it back to just get it, republished. So I have to restart. This is me restarting right now. So yeah, that was a little bit frustrating. I had to calm down a little bit, obviously, right? But it is what it is, and here we are. This is the situation, and we are most likely not going to be recording the next two Friday Night SmackDown, so I had to make sure I get this one out. Reason being is because on the Fridays before a PLE, we have Saturday Night's main event next week, and then we have the Rumble after that. The viewership for SmackDown is already low as it is, right? And they go even lower on the Friday before because everyone's just so focused on the PLE at that time. That SmackDown just kind of feels like an afterthought to the masses, at least when it comes to my channel. So typically I don't do it, but two in a row we'll see, because we got to keep it consistent with the Fridays. Maybe we'll do something different on those Fridays just to pass some time. But yeah, let's get into this. And I was really upset too, because I really felt like I killed that review. But we'll see if I can kill it again back-to-back times. Hopefully you stuck around as we actually get into the review now of Friday Night SmackDown. I gotta tell you, these 3 hours, it has really been beneficial. Now, overall, I still think I prefer the two. But they have really taken the criticisms that we had from the first 3 hours, and also the criticisms that we had for the whole entire year when it comes to Friday nights, and they have really established them a little bit better. I think there was a total of 7 matches on this card, and typically, PLE or not, WWE is only going to do 5. So the fact that we got 7, and they were the real vocal point, because I feel like for the most part, every single match got a good accumulated amount of time for them to really stand out. I think they were all very good quality. There was just one thing that was lacking with every single one of them, and that was the lack of a surprise winner. I feel like every single winner was pretty obvious. I mean, let's get into it. Miz versus Orton. When's the last time Miz won a match? I mean, when he went for that skull-crushing finale, no one bought it. I saw on his interview with Chris Van Fleet that he's like, yeah, people can believe me that I would win. Like, I can lose, and I just cut a promo, then you'll believe. I think he needs to get a couple wins, maybe go to the mid-card. I think the WrestleMania match for him is him versus Carmelo Hayes. And Miz will be the one to end the Open Challenge saga, because we'll get into it when we get to Melo's match that he had tonight. I just think the Open Challenge is starting on the course of running its course. I could take a few more weeks. Hell, we could probably take a few more months. Like I said, WrestleMania. But at some point, it has to come to an end, and you don't want it to overstay its welcome. I think it has given the U.S. title a great sense of identity. It has really made it feel valuable. I mean, due to Dominic's injury, it is the only mid-card title that the men have. So I have appreciated the Open Challenge saga that we've had. But again, at some point, it has to come to an end. And you don't want it to feel like it has expired. You want it to be like, oh, we've reached the pinnacle of it. And I think The Miz could be that person for it. But yeah, during that match, no one believed Miz was going to beat Randy Orton. And at some point, the crowd was just sitting there waiting for the RKO to come out of nowhere. And sure enough, that is what happens. And then that's what got the most reaction for that match. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair versus Julia and Kiana James. Don't really know where this came from. I know we had Julia versus Alexa Bliss last week. I would have done Lash and Nia versus Charlotte and Alexa. I feel like that was more of the tag team. My Alexa's going up.
Take a look at the help section.
My Amazon went off. That's what you heard over there. But that was the match I would have gone with instead, Julia and Kiana James. Now, there is one thing that we did here in this match that I did like. And that is that Julia is starting to have a little bit of a pit bull to her. And I'm not talking about Mr. 305, because Nia is like pushing Julia out of the way, and Julia's like, what? You ain't going to disrespect me like that, getting up in her face. And Kiana James is grabbing her. And next week, we're having this triple threat tag team match. Not a huge fan of that. Again, I would have had just the 2-on-2 with Charlotte and Bliss. I'm not going to say her first name, so that way Amazon doesn't activate again. But, you know, and Lash and Nia 1-on-1 for that number one contendership. But with Kiana James pulling Julia away, I think maybe this is the start. That's the start of the seed of them breaking up. Because I think we can all agree the partnership just hasn't worked. I'm actually a huge fan of both ladies. I really do. I think Julia is severely underrated, and I also think Kiana James is severely underrated. But they don't mesh well together. I think, you know, last week Julia had her promo. She did good on her own. And then when Kiana came in with it, there's a little bit of a mismatch there. So if this is the start of why did you pull me away from her? And like Kiana's like, oh, you just don't need to waste your time with her. But deep down, Kiana's like, I don't think you can beat her. And then that could start the rift between them. And that could start a little story with them around the United States title. Then I think we got some business there to go with. But again, it will remain to be seen when we get to that triple threat. Again, overall, the tag team match was nice. But now throughout the whole match, I was like, well, Kiana's here to get pinned. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Then we get to Trick Williams versus Matt Cardona. You would have thought there would have been a sense of jeopardy here since both of them have, Trick just got caught up and Matt Cardona just came back. But clearly Trick Williams is the one who's in the bigger position within the company. So I felt like, again, everyone was kind of quiet until they realized, okay, Trick's about to win here. Now we're going to make some noise. Sure enough, that is what happened. I think the most match with the most amount of jeopardy was Solo Sikoa versus Damian Priest. And man, sorry about that. My nose was just getting really itchy, and I just couldn't ignore it anymore. So sorry about that. But yeah, I think the match with the most amount of jeopardy was Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa. And the reason for that being is because this match here was like, well, who's going to get pinned at Saturday night's main event, right? And I was under the impression, I called it last week, I'm pretty sure Damian Priest is going to win. And I think the crowd overall knew that too, especially after the vignettes that we got with the MFTs and the Wyatts. Now that we have this whole storyline, not just based around the tag titles, but around a lamp. And yes, there's significance to the lamp because of Bray. I understand. But it is a little silly, I'm not going to lie. You know, I love that Punk versus Drew feud, right? But the bracelet was a little silly to me. I can still, there's some things I can appreciate, I can understand it, but I can still go, yeah, no, it's just not working for me. This lamp thing doesn't really fully work for me either. Just get another lamp. I don't know. But again, I understand the significance behind it. But yeah, once we're going to focus on that tag team program, then yeah, sure. Of course, they were going to get involved. It was going to distract Solo. Damian hits the South of Heaven. 1, 2, 3. And I felt like the crowd was waiting until the Wyatts showed up. Okay, now we know a finish is about to happen. Then we had the Jordynne Grace versus Chelsea Green match. Of course, it's a showcase for Jordynne Grace. I would have liked a little bit more mustard since this is going to be around the women's title. Maybe we do a triple threat at Saturday night's main event where Chelsea is there just to get pinned while Jordan and Jay just like, you know, beat each other up like the two hosses that they are. And I mean that in the biggest complimentary way to them. It could be fun. I just wish there was more of a story when it comes to that. And then, of course, our main event match. Well, no, let's get to the tag team title match. The United States title match. Again, you know, he's facing Leon Slater, who's on the X division. Everyone knows, okay, well, Leon's not going to win, but it's nice to see him. They do have the best match of the night, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. I like how Carmelo is making the U.S. challenge a little bit different from Sami and Ilya, because with Sami and Ilya, like Sami would win the matches in different ways. Like it wasn't just the Huluva kit. He was winning with the Blue Thunder Bomb a few times, right? So like you never knew when the finish was going to happen. That's how Sami made the open challenge stand out, because you never knew how he was going to win. That was the intrigue of it. Ilya was just like, yeah, we're just going to beat each other up. It's going to be very physical. It's going to be very demanding. That's how his open challenge was. But the one similarity with Sami and Ilya is that every week they reset at 100%, right? But here with Carmelo, how he's thinking it is going, well, if I'm going to do this every single week, my bruises should carry over. A la Orange Cassidy when he did his TNT title run for AEW. When was that? 2022 or 2023? I'm having a hard time remembering. It was a great open challenge storyline. You know, it almost rivals John Cena. Maybe he surpasses it, to be completely honest with you. But anyway, that's AEW. We're going to talk about WWE here. But, you know, he is carrying over the injuries that he faced from Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm not sure if it was the shoulder or the knee, but like there was a few times where he would do a move. I think it was like the first 48, and like he was not able to get to his nothing but net move as fast as he usually does because, yeah, it's the knee. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the knee because the knee was still bugging him from Shinsuke Nakamura's match. Love that. Let's keep that going on. Let's continue that carrying where, you know, it's not just resetting at 100% every week. Now you're facing a 90, 100 for Carmelo, then it's 80, then it's 70. But then you keep weakening him, and then that's how you get a slimy Miz to come over. And then what was left of Carmelo Hayes, who's going to be that fighting champion, comes in to pick the bones, take the U.S. title, and end the Open Challenge. I think that's the story that we are going with, and I am liking the direction that we are going. And that's why I'm enjoying everything that we are doing with Raw and SmackDown right now, is that I do think I see where they're going. Like, they're not going for the big splash play for, you know, at the start of the show. They're not trying to make everything a moment. They are building building blocks to get to the moments that they want to get to again. Now, sometimes they take way too long, right? Granted, that tends to happen. But when they are focused and they do have a clear plan, you know, it's just, again, it just makes the show much more interesting to me personally. And again, I think I just see where they're going with that. And there's a lot of intrigue, especially when it comes to Friday nights. And then the other match that had jeopardy, Ilya versus Sammy, but again, Rumble's in Saudi Arabia, right? If Sammy's not going to win the Rumble, which I don't think he is anymore, then have him fight for the WWE title in Saudi Arabia. It makes all the sense in the world. I think he had to win, especially since Ilya won round one. Now, the crowd was a little bit more split 50-50, so that got me much more engaged within the match. But me, as a viewer, I was like the other matches. I was just sitting there waiting until a finish was being built. But the crowd really got me much more glued into the TV as it was going. Wow, I cannot talk right now. But you know, still very fun matches. All the matches were really good. To me, it just lacked that winner, and I think you felt that in the crowd sometimes as well. As for the promo work that was happening within the show, it was fine. Again, the wrestling was very much the focus of this, and I think it's all for the better for that. You know, I would have liked to maybe condense the Jacob and Cody and Drew stuff a little bit. Overall, I got 3 segments. I think we could have got it in 2, if anything. Like the opening, Drew coming out, and then Randy coming out, and then here comes Jacob. He's going to chase Drew off. Drew he deserved this moment. I was very happy for him. Like, he couldn't help but just get a little teary-eyed. And yeah, he was trying to spin it and be, you know, the heel that he was. He even calls it out. But, you know, it's just one of those things that, like, yeah, no, dude, we're going to celebrate this with you. You know, the cat's out the bag, and I don't think this is a detriment to Unreal. I just think, you know, hey, we're more open about what wrestling is. Hey, this isn't about the character right now. We're not talking to Drew McIntyre. We're talking about, and I know he hates it when people do this, but we're talking about Drew Galloway, right? That is his real name, right? That's just not another wrestling character. But, you know, we're cheering the person on. We're not cheering the character. Okay, now you're in the character. Okay, now we will boo with you. It was just one of those things where we could just take a human moment with that. But yeah, Jacob takes him. He goes running off. He's running away from like Ilya. He doesn't want to talk to him. And then later on, he's having a conversation with Sammy because now Jacob's so focused on Cody Rhodes. Cody comes out later on within the match. Later on within the show, declares for the Royal Rumble, says Jacob has a receipt coming, and then just leaves. And then, you know, after the Kit Wilson spot, which was great. I mean, his music hits coming out. I mean, the crowd singing along going, Kit Wilson. He looks at Trick Williams, toxic, and then walks off, beats up Matt Cardona. His music stops, and then just gets right back into walking. I was laughing so hard. And seeing it on TikTok, that a bunch of other people really enjoying that segment. We got something here. Again, it's not a character that can win a lot, but, you know, that theme song alone really makes stars. This is why theme songs matter when it comes to WWE. It can really get someone over just like that before the character even gets going. But yeah, Kit Wilson's out. He's out to cut a promo saying, you know, everyone needs to bow to me, and like, you know, everyone here is so toxic. I'm going to teach everyone a lesson. Here comes Jacob, beats him up. Jacob gets booed. Does the does his little, oh crap, I forgot what the move is called. Moonsault. He does his moonsault, calls out Cody, and then they have a brawl. And then the match gets announced for Saturday Night's main event. I'm looking forward to the match. My pick is Jacob Fatu to win the Royal Rumble, because I do think we're going to do the triple threat. Jacob versus Cody versus Drew. Jacob wins. Then you have the proper one-on-one match with Cody at the Elimination Chamber. If Cody wins, he gets added to the match. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. There's your triple threat. But this match here just screams disqualification. Because, Saturday Night's main event, it's not quite a PLE. It's just, Raw and SmackDown on a Saturday. Just more focus on matches, and it's just 4 matches, and that's it for the most part, right? So I'm just looking at it as like, well, they're not going to want him to lose, and they're definitely not going to want Cody to lose after losing the title. So DQ finish. Now, if Jacob is to win, which I think will go hand in hand with what Cody is going for with his character, because, he talked about in his promo, I felt very complacent. I was just going through the motions. I was coming out saying, what do you want to talk about? I was just doing the same old shtick, and I need to be more focused, and I need to be more locked in. Maybe he's not quite there yet, and that's what gets him to slip up, and Jacob gets to win to get him some momentum into the Royal Rumble, and then he wins the Rumble, and then, he has a minor setback when he loses to Cody at the Chamber. I hope that's what we do. I don't think that's what we're going to do, though. Again, I think this match is going to end in a DQ, maybe a double count out. They just keep beating each other because, they just can't keep their hands off of each other as it goes through. But yeah, I would have liked to just have Jacob come out after Cody said he has a receipt come, and then Jacob come in and I go, oh yeah, well give me my receipt right now. Then they beat each other up. If SmackDown was still 2 hours, that's what they would have done. But we also wouldn't have had the Kit Wilson spot if SmackDown was still 2 hours. So, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to it. Again, I overall would have preferred it if they would have just condensed the 2 segments into 1. But again, I do love that Kit Wilson quite a bit. So I don't really mind overall how it played out. But yeah, again, overall, good episode of SmackDown. It was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It just, let's get some more jeopardy when it comes to these matches overall. Next week's triple threat tag team contender, because I really don't know who's going to win, Alexa or Bliss, or Nia and Lash. I mean, as long as Julia and Kiana James doesn't win, I think I'll be fine either way. But I'm glad every title is being showcased. There was a time where at least one title would not be showcased. All the storylines seem pretty clear. There's not a clear direction for the women's U.S. title, but again, she is being featured on TV, so that's a win there. We got to take the little steps as we can. But yeah, let me know what y'all thought about this episode of SmackDown down in the comment section. Leave a like if you made this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. And don't forget to squeeze the days, guys, because life is too short not to give your all. So squeeze every opportunity that you can. Until next time, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.